All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo sports talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you so much for watching, for listening, however you consume this podcast. I truly appreciate you guys very, very much. Big shout out to both our sponsors, Sunny Reds, 1841 Aber Road, about 5 minutes or so just down the way from Highmark Stadium, which was popping, of course, on Sunday night. We're about to get into plenty of that in just a minute. But anyway, some of the best food, and I'll tell you what, an incredible anytime dinner special. 20 wings, large pizza, just $45. And if you don't want to sit there at the bar and order it there, you can actually get takeout too, anytime. That is an incredible deal, folks. Also, shout out Imperial Pizza, 2 locations, Main Street near Canisius College, and my personal favorite, deep in the heart of South Buffalo, 1035 Aber Road, home of the best lunch special anywhere in town, Imperial, one of the best known and well-liked and respected pizza joints, not just in Buffalo, but all of Western New York, and for great reason. They are absolutely elite. Speaking of elite, what a football game on Sunday night. Today's episode is going to be about my week 1 takeaways, as opposed to, so we did a show yesterday, Steve Bermel, big shout out to Steve Bermel, broadcaster, who tagged in for Joe from Queens. Joe from Queens typically will do the live shows with me all year long on Sunday nights, including after Bills games. But actually, he lives in New York City. He came up to Buffalo, spent a little bit of time with him on Saturday. I'll talk about that later in the week. But anyway, he was at the game, so unavailable. My guy Steve did an awesome, awesome job of tagging in. But anyway, those were instant, in the moment, live reactions, which can be a little bit difficult to process even in a game that, you know where it's going. This game obviously felt like a Bills loss. And I've heard a lot of meaty people and content creators talking about it. The stories were already written. The talking points were already done. Going to go on and talk about how the Bills lost, possibly even got him blown out by the Baltimore Ravens. And then bam, everything switched. So my mind was going crazy, reacting purely on emotion, literally, quite literally, adrenaline, shock, disbelief, all the above. And it came out on the show, which I thought was a really cool experience. Today's show is more about having measured and calculated takeaways after having some sleep, albeit minimal sleep, because I didn't get to bed until about 3:15 a.m. or so Sunday night into Monday morning, and I was up maybe 4 hours of sleep. And I don't give a shit either. I mean, I'm pumped right now, and I'm still pumped. Like, the adrenaline's gone, but the shock and the disbelief of this football game's definitely still here. Because I thought it was over. I thought the Bills were going to lose by 2 scores, maybe 3 scores. Let's put it this way. If you do follow me on Twitter, at Pat Moran TV, by the way, Patrick Moran TV, by the way, and you were following along with my tweets, freezing cold takes could be making fun of me. They could have an entire section specifically just for my game tweets. I was so angry. I was angry tweeting this whole game. It was just really, really frustrating on a lot of levels. Anyway, I get up on Monday morning. I'm recording this Monday early evening, by the way, for our typical Tuesday podcast drop. I probably spent more time watching all 22 film on Monday, which is part of the reason why I got up so early, despite going to bed so late, is I knew I wanted to spend a lot of time. And I also made a lot of clips, which, by the way, if you go to Talking Buffalo Substack, I got a post just starting this season. Some film breakdown, I talk about it on the show to some extent, but I actually made a post that you can look at. It's got a lot of important clips from this game with some pretty cool captions of what was going on at the time. If you want to go check that out. If you're watching this on the video side, the address for our Substack is up there on the screen. But anyway, I spent a lot of time watching this film and making clips, maybe more so than any game I can remember, because honestly, it almost feels like a blur to me. Like, I was expecting almost like this was all a dream, and I was expecting to put on the all 22, and the first three quarters went the way they did, and then the fourth quarter was probably more the same, and the Bills, they had out of Highmark Stadium losing his game by 20 points because it kind of felt that way to me, but it didn't. So I had to go back and I had to watch. I was like, holy shit, this happened, that happened, a lot happened. Just a crazy game between two incredibly good football teams. And let's not lose sight of that, folks, man. These teams very, very well may see each other again in January. The good news is because how this played out, the odds are at least increased that a rematch would also consist of Baltimore now having to come to Orchard Park. Before I get into like the good, the bad, and the ugly, because that's what I'm going to do today, I kind of have three like general takes or things that it just kind of I want to get into. Then we'll get into, like I said, the good, the bad, the ugly, more measured after watching film and looking at stats and evaluating things type of takes today as opposed to yesterday. The biggest stat, the number I still can't get over, and I probably won't get over it all week long, is less than 1%. That's the number to throw out at you. Less than 1%, folks. The Baltimore Ravens, 99.1% win probability rate per ESPN analytics with 4:18 left in the fourth quarter. The Bills, with less than 5 minutes left in this football game, had less than a 1% chance of winning. That's why a lot of people left that stadium. It's late. It's Sunday. School's back. You got kids. You got work on Monday. Now, personally, I wouldn't have left that stadium, but I'm just saying I can understand why a lot of people did. Some people turned the game off, period, went to bed, whatever it may be. It's hard to not know why. Again, less than 1%. I'm almost at a loss for words, even just thinking about it right now. The other thing I want to say is I got some things, including tonight, where I'm going to be a little bit hard on Sean McDermott and the coaches for some things because, look, Sean McDermott makes mistakes. Sean McDermott, sometimes his teams just play bad. But the thing about a Sean McDermott football team is they never, ever, ever, ever stop playing. That team never quits. Like, no matter how bad they're playing, they don't stop playing. And what I'll give Sean McDermott a lot of credit for is I think there's maybe a handful of coaches in the NFL, obviously including Sean, where if they were the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, the way things went on Sunday night, where they don't end up losing that game by 2, possibly 3 scores. Because at some point you're like, it's just not our night. Let's just get through this game. It's only week 1. I don't want to expose Josh. I don't want to get Josh Allen hurt. I don't want to get this guy hurt. I don't want to show them anything anymore. Let's just kind of almost get in preseason mode. We will regroup and we'll get back at it. We just lost to an elite team, the Baltimore Ravens. It's okay. I think there's but a small handful of coaches in the league where those teams still play. And Sean McDermott is one of them. This team, the attitude, the culture, it's real, man. These guys play for each other and they believe. They believe even when sometimes we don't. I didn't think the Bills had a prayer in the world to win this football game, especially after that Derrick Henry touchdown where Taylor Rapp looked like he was like he weighed 700 pounds trying to play safety. So it was over to me. But it was not over to Sean McDermott, and his team actually believed in themselves. And I think that matters. That is a direct, and I mean direct thing, or credit, I should say, to Sean McDermott and this coaching staff. They never stop playing, and you might lose 99% of the time when you're in that situation, but there is that 1%. Sean McDermott believes in that 1%. His team believes in that 1%, and we got that 1% on Sunday night. So just huge. And then the last thing, this could be the game. This could be a game that gets the Bills the number 1 seed, which is what they've longed for and what has eluded them during this run. The Bills have been in the playoffs since, 2019? The Bills have won 5 straight AFC East. The Bills have won a playoff game every year. After 2019, at least anyway, they've won multiple playoff games. They've won at home. They've won on the road. But the one thing the Bills have never had is the number 1 seed. They've never had a bye in the first round, and they've never had the entire playoffs be guaranteed to come through Orchard Park. So this was big. This was big as hell for potentially the future. And as for this game specifically, regular season or not, it was big that it was in Orchard Park. Like, I feel like, and I'm being honest, if this was week 1, Sunday Night Football, regular season, and it was Buffalo at Baltimore, that game that was 40-25 might have ended up being 54-25. I think the Bills lose this game if it's not at Orchard Park by 20, maybe more. So those are my general takeaways. I kind of want to jump into, like I said, the good, the bad, the ugly, and I don't want this to be very long, so I'm not going to be too detailed in a lot of things that I hit on. I will say Matt Warren is going to be on the show with me tomorrow from SB Nation, his weekly midweek Wednesday spot, and what we're going to do is go through the Buffalo Bills positionally from his point of view, get his insight. We're going to give kind of like a report card type of thing on all the positions and a little bit of analysis on each. And in some cases, we'll dive into some players a little more specifically. So we'll be doing that tomorrow, as well as taking our first look at the Jets, who, of course, the Bills will be playing this Sunday. But in terms of the good, look, I mean, I'm not uncovering any stones here, folks. It's Josh Allen. You got to start there. You can't start this section without talking about Josh Allen. What he did in the fourth quarter, which I'll say to some extent that the handcuffs came off because they had no choice. You had to let Josh Allen, kind of run wild and see what happens. And boy, did he ever. 16 of 21, 269 yards, 3 total touchdowns in the fourth quarter. That's a very solid, respectable, full game stat line. Josh Allen did that in the fourth quarter. I saw a stat that he is the first person in the last 35 years to have 250 yards and 3 total touchdowns in the second half of a game that their team won. He was sensational when he had to be. And with the game on the line, after the Bills, D gets a stop. More on them in a second. You got to go, you get the ball at the 80-yard line or the 20-yard line with a $1:26 left and no timeouts. Josh Allen, 4 for 4, 71 yards, 2 absolutely back-to-back incredible plays. The long throw on along the left sideline, perfect throw to Josh Palmer, who had an impact in this football game, his first game with Buffalo, who kind of cooked Jair Alexander. And speaking of Jair Alexander getting cooked, very next play, Keon Coleman, a skinny post, great recognition from Josh, great throw, puts it right there. Josh Allen throws it. Keon Coleman beats Alexander, gets tackled barely, and thank God he actually did in hindsight, deep in Baltimore territory. And essentially, that was a wrap. The Bills won the game because of that. So that last drive, he was good. He was so good at just feeling pressure. He only got sacked once, 46 pass attempts. He only gets sacked once. He just felt where the pressure was coming from. There was one play, I put this up on my little Substack film page with the James Cook little short dump off. The way he knew that the blitz was coming from Patrick Queen and Kyle Van Noy was coming on the left, and the way he moved over James Cook and let those guys come in, and he dumped it off to Cook, who got out in space, and you let James Cook do what James Cook does. It was a 7 and 8 yard gain, which was going to get the first down, but James Cook makes Patrick Queen miss, and then bam, 51-yard play. And that's all just because of recognition from Josh Allen. You could point to the perfect throw near the end of the first half where he hits Dalton Kincaid as well. That led to the Bills getting 3 points. So there's so many other things. Again, I don't want to spend all day talking about Josh Allen because you saw what I saw. I will be stunned. I believe Wednesday morning weekly awards come out. It's only 1 week in, and I'm already going to be stunned if Josh Allen is not your AFC Offensive Player of the Week. Now, I haven't watched enough defensive players or looked at enough defensive stats from other teams around the AFC, but I tell you what, Ed Oliver damn well better at least get consideration for AFC Defensive Player of the Week because holy shit, I honestly think this might have been the very best game of Ed Oliver's entire career. If it's not, it's right there. 6 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, 3 pressures, a sack, a forced fumble, which was the defensive play of the game. And he got a quarterback hit on Lamar Jackson that directly mattered. And let me explain that play to you specifically as well. A lot of people are saying, how the hell did Baltimore not go for it? It was 4th and 3, last drive. You're going to punt the ball, give the Bills a chance to win. I think I heard Lamar tell somebody, or according to what I saw, Lamar said he was getting cramps or something. It might have had something to do with why Baltimore punted. I'm going to tell you what. You go watch that all 22 and you go watch that third down play. Lamar Jackson throws the ball to DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Benford makes a great tackle right away. And it's 4th and 3 now. And if Benford doesn't make that tackle, the game's over. Baltimore gets a first down. That's a wrap. Anyway, he makes a tackle. It's 4th and 3. But what you don't see, unless you're paying attention, or at least, when I went back and watched the all 22, on that play, Ed Oliver obliterated Lamar Jackson. In fact, to be honest with you, the way he hit him so hard, I'm actually kind of surprised that they didn't throw a flag for unnecessary roughness. Because, he he put the lumber on Lamar Jackson. And my conspiracy theory, if I'm a Ravens fan, it would be a conspiracy theory or whatever. I think Lamar got shooken up on that play. I don't believe the whole cramp thing. What, do you get a cramp? You got a cramp right on the same play where Ed Oliver almost took your lights out. At least it looked that way on film. So anyway, I think maybe Lamar might have got rattled a little bit on that hit to the point where the Ravens decided to punt. So that was huge. The big play, though, of course, was, actually had another play in the first quarter. In fact, it was the first drive for the Ravens. They're going on the field. The Bills look helpless. And third down, big sack for Ed Oliver, who saved them 4 points. Like, if he doesn't make that play, Baltimore probably scores a touchdown the way it was looking on that drive. So he saved them probably 4 points right there. And then, of course, the absolute biggest play of the football game, his hit on Derrick Henry, who the Bills could not stop all night. He puts a hit on Derrick Henry, forces the fumble. Terrell Bernard is there to fall on it. Baltimore's up 40-32 at the time. There's like 3:10 left in the game when Ed forces the fumble. The Bills scored. They didn't get the 2-point conversion to tie it, but they got it to within 2 and set up the defense to have to make one more stop. PFF, 92.1 overall grade, 92.7 run defensive grade, both the best on the team. Look, I'll say this. Forget about the Bills winning. Like, the Bills, obviously, they don't win this game if it's not for Ed Oliver. I'll go as far as to say I don't think the Bills are even in the game were it not for Ed Oliver. So Ed Oliver deserves a ton of flowers. The Bills' crappy defense, all right? And again, we'll talk about them more in detail tomorrow. That defense for a lot of this game absolutely, positively sucked. We all know that. We watched the football game. They were helpless. It was a mockery out there, what was going on with the Bills' defense. They looked as bad as we've seen them at any point over the last few years until the fourth quarter. Just like when Josh Allen had no choice but you had to unleash Josh Allen. It was the only way you were going to score and win this game. Defensively, you had to make stops, and when they absolutely, positively had no choice but to do that, that's what they did. The last 3 drives for the Ravens in the fourth quarter, 3 and out. So the Bills forced a 3 and out when they were down 40-25. Baltimore used just 2 minutes and 2 seconds of clock. The Bills would score a touchdown right after. Then they get the ball back, and bam, Ed Oliver with the big hit on Derrick Henry forces the fumble. Terrell Bernard with the recovery. Bills score again, and now it's a 2-point game. And then bam, Baltimore, 1 first down. That's all they need. The Bills got all 3 of their timeouts, but if the Ravens get 1 first down, the football game's over. They don't. They force a 3 and out the Bills. They punt. Baltimore punts. The Bills are down just 2, and they only made the Ravens only use 32 seconds of game clock. So an incredible end of the game, at least anyway, for the Bills defense. Keon Coleman. Boy, oh boy. 8 catches, $112, a touchdown. I'm not going to sit here and say after one game, Keon Coleman, you're the new Bills' #1 receiver. I just don't think this offense works that way. Keon Coleman could have 2 catches for 14 yards against the Jets for all we know. So we're going to need to see him rack up some weeks before we go declaring him the new #1 receiver on this team. But I'll tell you what, based on what we saw this summer, it feels like a continuation, kind of like here's the Keon Coleman coming out party right now. Incredible game for Keon, pretty much all in the second half. I think he had 1 catch for 17 in the first half. He dropped The first throw of the game that was to him, a screen pass, which of course was a screen pass, and he drops an easy ball. Then he makes a hard sliding catch for his one grab in the first half. But then it was, all systems go in the second half. They just found that chemistry, which if you went to training camp a lot this summer, you saw it. Josh the Keon all summer long. It just looked right, and it felt right, and it looked and it felt right in this football game as well. 8 catches, 112 yards, a touchdown, including that last catch, none bigger, which, again, essentially won that football game. So Keon Coleman was awesome. I thought the tight ends were a big factor in this game. Combined, Kincaid, Knox, Hawes, 7 targets, 7 catches, 97 yards, and a touchdown. Kincaid had the 15-yard score. He had the huge 22-yard reception in the last 7 seconds of the first half that led directly to the Prater field goal for 3 points. Jackson Hawes, late in the game, had that big down-the-seam 29-yard catch. 5 of the 7 catches that the Bills tight ends had went for either a first down or a touchdown. So props to them. Look, when you score 41 points and your quarterback sacked once, you got to show some love to the offensive line. Around the league, it's not in Buffalo, but around the league is an underrated offensive line, and I thought they did an underrated job. Now, the pressures were there, but at the end of the day, again, Van Noy and so many good Baltimore pass rushers on that front 7. I thought the Bills more than held their own there. And speaking of, Dorian Strong, 6th-round rookie, first start, forced in the lineup because Trey White gets hurt. I'm putting him in the good because he could have been a disaster, and he wasn't. I think Dorian Strong, for the most part, held his own. Now, made a couple of mistakes. Kind of a ticky-tack hold call on him, actually, in penalty in the first half. But he only had one really bad play in this football game, watching it back on the All-22. Zay Flowers went in motion once to the left, and Dorian Strong went with him, and Lamar Jackson had play action to Derrick Henry, and Strong completely froze while Flowers runs the middle of the field in a crossing route. Strong is way behind him. Lamar hits Zay Flowers. He heads upfield, and it's a big 36-yard game before Cole Bishop finally brings him down. That was a mistake, but all in all, tell you what, he played pretty good. Sean McDermott credited him for a touchdown-saving tackle on Derrick Henry. For a secondary that, in some regards, lacks athleticism, Dorian Strong doesn't. He didn't look great, but he also didn't look completely lost and out of place. And I don't know about you, but my number one concern going into this football game was they are going to go after Dorian Strong time and time and time and time and time again. Well, they didn't. So a strong, no pun intended, start for Dorian Strong. Joey Bosa, he made some mistakes, all right, but I still have him in the good category because I saw some good things too. Again, shaky early. He had a bad rep where he was caught inside, which joined the club, by the way. It seems how many Bills edge rushers are going to consistently get caught inside on play action? It feels like we see this every single week, man. But that was a mistake. He had a big mistake where him and Greg Rousseau, one of them, two, if not both of them, should have sacked Lamar Jackson on a key third down. Lamar Jackson takes off. He gets the first down. The Bills should have gotten the ball, but Lamar converts, and then bam, on the very next play, Derrick Henry, long touchdown run. And to me, at that point, that's where I thought the game was over. So far from a perfect game from Bosa, but I thought he played pretty well as a whole. First game in Buffalo, he had a few tackles. That one play aside, pretty good at containing 2 stops. He had 2 pressures. He played 68% of the snaps. Again, not great, but plenty to build on going forward. I was perfectly good with his Buffalo Bills debut. And then last not but least, man, I gotta give it up. Matt Prater, man, let's go. This dude was just signed. He just got here Thursday. Now, he didn't make extraordinary long kicks, but they were big kicks. That field goal at the end of the first half, the last play of the half, the field goal, obviously, on the last play of the football game, dead smack perfect on all the extra points, and every kick felt comfortable, too. I don't know what it was. Like Tyler Bass, even when he's going great, I always get a little bit of nervous energy when Tyler Bass is out there to kick. For some reason, maybe it's because he's 10,000 years old and he's been kicking in the league since I was like 2. Not really, but anyway, you get my point. I just felt a sense of comfort with him great job and a great moment for him, too. To be out of the league and not know what's going to happen, and you get signed to the practice squad, now you're elevated, and, to be the hero, to go on the shoulders of your teammates, and to get a game ball in the locker room. The Bills put that on social media. Some really cool shit. So major, major props there to Matt Prater. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break, come back. I'm going to fly through some of the bad and a couple ugly as well. All right, folks, back here going over my biggest takeaways, the good, the bad, the ugly. Week 1, the Buffalo Bills 41-40. Stunning, literally stunning last-second victory over the Baltimore Ravens, who very much wanted to win this game. It was a revenge game for them. Didn't happen. Real quick, before I dive into these, if you happen to be watching this on YouTube and you're still with us, do me a real quick solid. Hit the pause button, open up your phone or your iPad or your desktop, your laptop, whatever it may be. Type in Talking Buffalo for Apple or Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Even if you typically watch this and don't listen to it on the audio side, go follow Talking Buffalo. It really helps us grow this channel, the algorithm, all that stuff. So please hook your boy up and do that for me. All right, let's get into the bad. And look, were it not for the last couple minutes, we would be spending almost the entirety of this podcast talking about the bad. But, the Bills won. That's all that matters. But it doesn't mean that we're not going to criticize, because I am about to do some of that right now. And again, some of these we'll dive into a little bit more as well on the show tomorrow. One of the things that probably pissed me off more than anything else this game, it's one thing to just get physically dominated. Lamar Jackson is just physically incredible out there. His speed, his athleticism, his arm, his intelligence, he's awesome. Derrick Henry is just a man's man. I mean, you get going, he gets going, you're not stopping him. You're not stopping him. That's physical stuff, though. The defensive line, they're not getting moved, or their offensive line is moving your guys around. That's physical stuff. Those aren't mistakes. It's just man on man. We are a better football team than you are. I don't like that, but that's not the shit that gets me mad. What gets me mad are stupid decisions and really bad play calls, and probably more than anything else in this entire football game for that reason, the decision to go for 2 the first time led to a chain reaction of them, and I think he very, very, very easily could have been the reason why the Bills lost this football game. So you're halfway through the third quarter. The Bills are down 27-13. Josh Palmer, deep ball for him down the field. Doesn't catch it, but it's pass interference. James Cook scores like 1 or 2 plays after that from 2 yards out, and the Bills kick the extra point. I'm like, all right, here we go. 27-20, 1 touchdown game. Feeling a little bit good. But Baltimore had too many men on the field. So the Bills decide to take the point off the board and go for the 2-point conversion from the 1. Now, personally, I absolutely freaking hate that decision, especially at this point in the football game. I really hate it. But you want to give me analytics, you want to give me probability numbers and all that other stuff, you could push back on me. You could say if it's at the 1, you should go for 2. I'll listen to that. I'll buy it even, okay? We can agree to disagree, but I'll find some common sense in your theory, okay? But here's what I don't find freaking any common sense in, okay? If you're going to do a Josh Allen tush push from the 1, if you're going to hand it inside to James Cook from the 1 who just scored a minute ago, I can live with that, okay? But the Bills don't do that shit. What do? They get to the 1, and then they spread the football out, and Josh Allen's in the shotgun, and they try to throw the ball for a 2-point conversion? I mean, what are they doing here? Now, granted, Keon Coleman caught the ball. However, it didn't count because he was out of bounds, and I don't know the legalities of that, and I don't really care. My point is I was pissed off that you're going to run a passing play from the 1-yard line. You took a point off to run a passing play from the 1-yard line. That is just stupid to me. It really is. Like, if you're going to do that, you should have. Why not just do it after the touchdown to begin with? Why not just, if you're going to throw for 2, you may as well have just done it right after the touchdown to begin with. All you did by taking that penalty and getting an extra yard is you actually gave your pass catchers one less yard of room to operate. Which, by the way, a big difference in the way you make that call. It was just an idiotic play call to me. So after that, they score again. They cut it to 34-25. Now they have to go for 2. Josh, there's nobody open. He's in the end zone, gets picked, whatever. So now they're 0 for 2. So now they're down 40-38. And again, because of how this played out earlier, instead of kicking an extra point to tie, because Baltimore missed, I believe, an extra point at that point as well. Yeah, they did. Anyway, you got to get a 2-point conversion to tie now instead of a 1-point kick because of what you did previous. And there's just a minute 58 left in the game. So now you got to go for it. And what do? You dial it up. I'm like, all right, are they going to run Josh Allen? Maybe a shotgun direct power run with blockers out in front of him, kind of a read option pass, whatever. So many things, Keon Coleman or Khalil Shakir coming in the circle in motion. There's lots of things they might do. What do? They throw a freaking low percentage fade pass to Keon Coleman, which doesn't work. And look, I just gave Keon props. I thought he played great. I love Keon Coleman. I loved his game. But that is a terrible, terrible call. That is I loathe that call. Right now, talking about it nearly close to 24 hours later, I still think it was an absolute stupid play call. That's so low percentage. Like if it's first and goal from the 2 or 3 yard line and you want to run that on a first down when you got sequence of plays after that, I get it. But when you got to have 2 points on one play, that's what you're going to do. That's a very low percentage thing. So really, really stupid to me. So at the end of the day, because they took that point off the board for a yard to throw it anyway and fail, they spent the rest of the game chasing 2 points, which again, easily could have been the game. So I got a big issue with that. I thought Joe Brady, and I know this is going to sound crazy, okay? When your offense scores 41 points and you're criticizing the offensive coordinator and you got him in the bad category, I get it. I can understand the pushback, but I thought he was too conservative. At least, in fact, he was. He was way too conservative until he wasn't allowed to be anymore. Like Josh Allen went nuclear in the fourth quarter, but he did that because he had to. They're down 15 in the fourth. They got no choice at that point. Like maybe, and coincidentally or not, the Bills' offense started to really look good when Josh Allen started throwing it every time, and it wasn't just all long passes, but he mixed it up at least. They weren't just little dump-offs. Again, going down the field to Palmer, stretching the field more with Coleman, throwing the ball in the flats to James Cook and letting him operate in space. There's just so many weapons, the seam with the tight ends, Jackson Hawes. You know what I mean? It's just the offense really started to cook when it was more tempo and operating with urgency. I think that's where you're going to get the most unstoppable version of Josh Allen, okay? He's the best quarterback right now in the world, and for a reason. For a reason. So you get to the point before that. It's late in the first half. I'm looking at the stats. Josh Allen has 10 completions in the first half, near the end of the first half. He's got 65 yards passing. I'm like, yo, this is like some Russ Wilson type shit. What are we doing here? 65 yards passing on 10 completions. I know there was one sequence where the Bills threw back-to-back like smoke screens, bubble screens, whatever the hell you want to call them. In fact, I got a text. I shared it on the show last night. My son's old high school football coach, who I still keep in contact with every now and then, he knows I'm a Bills guy, checks in. He sent me a text saying, you got the best quarterback. What are you doing? Just dumping the ball off. It was ridiculous, man. And look, while it's Sean McDermott's decision to go for the 2-point conversion, that's not on Brady, but the play call to dial it up, it didn't work for me, man. And again, I get it. It's insane to really put the hammer on an OC when you score 41. But honestly, I feel like the Bills' offense succeeded tonight late, more out of spite of Joe Brady than because of him, man. And I just feel like he's got to be more aggressive and less predictable. There's too much, and I get it to an extent too, and we've seen it, and it's worked a lot. It has worked a lot. But, the Baltimore philosophy is we're not going to turn the ball over. We're going to make them make the mistakes, and we're going to capitalize on them. And it's worked, actually twice. The Bills last year in the playoffs did not turn the ball over against Baltimore, though Josh Allen was pretty pedestrian, but they didn't turn the ball over. Meanwhile, Lamar, who was all over the place, but he had 3 turnovers. The Ravens had 3 turnovers, and they lost the game. This game right here, only 1 turnover the entire game. And it was by Baltimore, and it ended up being the difference in this football game. So I do understand an element of being conservative, but again, you got a player the caliber of Josh Allen, and it looks like you got Russ Wilson or Zach Wilson out there, or Nate Peterman even at times operating in this offense. You got to find a more of a balance. I just feel like as good as the Bills offense is, and look, it might lead to a turnover more, but I also think you're going to boat race more teams out of the building, because I think when you get the Bills going with tempo and more of a balance and throwing the ball and not being afraid to take more shots in the intermediate or even long part of the field, I just think you're going to have an offense that's going to be even better. So anyway, an issue with that. And then on the bad side, look, we'll talk more about it tomorrow, but the Bills just got a very significant safety problem. Cole Bishop's not really good right now, okay? And we know that. It's well and dandy. He got embarrassed, as Chris Collinsworth said on the broadcast on that Derrick Henry touchdown run. He made some other mistakes as well. Just looks a little helter-skelter, a little chaotic for me right now. But I kind of almost expected that. But I will say that kind of concerned me even more is I thought Taylor Rapp was even worse. Like, he made some bad decisions. He was out of place, some bad angles, including that Derrick Henry run, where, like I said, it looked like Taylor Rapp had cement in his feet. I'm like, God, Damar Hamlin's even faster than that. You may as well call up Jordan Poyer from the practice squad. He can go out there and have somebody like Derrick Henry just blow past him because you take a bad angle. So you got that. And then the injury factor with him, or the friendly fire factor with him. I just got a lot of concern about this unit right now. And I obviously don't feel any more confident about Damar Hamlin. So personally, I'd love to see Jordan Hancock out there. He had a great summer, great preseason, and he is a great athlete with good speed. I'd love to see him get a shot out there, but I don't see it happening with Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott loves Taylor Rapp. Sean McDermott is not going to give up on Cole Bishop this early in year 2 as a second-round pick. Brandon Beane, the last thing he wants is to have a bust on his hands just 2 or 3 weeks into that player's second year when you use the second-round pick on him. And Sean loves Damar Hamlin. So I don't see a path right now to Jordan Hancock getting on the field. And my mindset about this position is you could teach fundamentals, and Sean's trying to instill confidence. He talked about that on Monday, but you can't teach athleticism. And I just think the Bills safeties, with the exception of Hancock, and well, I guess Cole Bishop too, but by and large, just too slow and not athletic enough. So that's concerning. Daquan Jones, watching the film, that's very concerning. I hate using the word washed up, but just not really it, man. Now, he did have one really good rep in this game. He had a run stuff on Derrick Henry for a 1-yard loss. It was like 8:37 left in the game. The Bills were down 15 at the time. It led to the Ravens punting, which, again, every play that the Bills made was a factor in a one-kick final second victory here. But that aside, absolutely nothing from him. And like I said, I hate using the word wash up. It just feels dirty and it feels personal, but it just looks like dude don't have it anymore. Played 34 snaps, so nearly 70% of the snaps. Baltimore only had 50 snaps, which, by the way, Baltimore scored 5 touchdowns, and the drives were 6 plays or less on all of them. And on 4 of the 5, there were 4 plays or less. And they all went for at least 65 yards. So the Bills defense literally could not stop anything until the fourth quarter, of course. But anyway, 68% of the stats for Daquan. Seen him getting pushed around on the film, moved, just stood up, back, getting turned around where his back is directly going into the runner. It wasn't pretty at all. And that's just the run defense, which he's supposed to be good at, man. The pass rush, 14 pass reps, 0 pressures. Now, the 2 rookies, Sanders and Walker, we'll talk more about them tomorrow. They didn't play very well, I'll say that, though, but at least they got 1 pressure each, which is more than Daquan got. I'd love to see Babbage start to have more confidence in these young guys, and maybe he will going forward. I don't know. I don't know what you do with Daquan. He is your true one tech, the only one you really have on this roster. Even when Joe becomes back, he's more of a Sanders type, a 1 to 3 kind of a mix of that. I don't know what they're going to do, but I haven't liked what I saw from Daquan Jones last year, and Not liking it right now. I feel like at best, he's another guy. I feel like at worst, he's a straight up liability. And then the last guy that I want to mention in terms of the bad, probably an unpopular one here, but I had to go with Terrell Bernard, man. I thought he had a very bad game, especially when you watch it back on film. I know he's the captain. He got a brand new, handsome extension, all that stuff, but I wasn't as high on him last year as most people were. And I thought he had a miserable game. In fact, because I'll tell you what, too, because he had his number changed from 43 to 8. There were times where I couldn't even tell if that was Terrell Bernard or Taylor Rapp. And that's partially because, not because of athleticism, because Terrell can move, but like size. He's just undersized. His game is predicated on speed and making big plays like sacks, picks, forced fumbles. He's really, really good at that stuff. And to his credit, he was the one who fell on the loose ball that Ed Oliver created that fumble. Although Joey Bosa and Dorian Williams, I believe, was right there as well. But yeah, beating guys at the spot, he's just really good at that stuff when he's playing well. But he didn't play well at all, man. He was getting swallowed up all over the place and hitting some wrong gaps when he wasn't getting swallowed up. Just, it was not a good game. He got toasted on one pass rush rep, which, to be fair, I mean, he has no business being in the vicinity of trying to watch Zay Flowers. But PFF gave him a 29.7 grade, 29.8 run defense grade. Worst on the team. I'm not a big PFF guy. I get it. Their grades are kind of made up stuff, whatever. But I'll tell you what, feels pretty accurate in this case. I just thought he was lousy. And then in terms of the ugly, I'll tell you what, if you haven't seen it yet and you watch the Matt Prater kick and you kick it and you're watching the ball go through, that's awesome. But I have it on my Twitter. I broke it down on a film, the end zone view, the sideline view. If you haven't seen it yet, go back and watch that kick because the Buffalo Bills came within probably 2 to 3 inches at the most of losing this football game because that kick was nearly blocked. In fact, it should have been blocked. And had it been blocked, it would have fallen on the shoulders, the very big shoulders of fourth-round rookie Deion Walker. So Deion Walker is the far right blocker on special teams field goal block for the Bills. And what had happened was Nate Wiggins was lined up on the outside gap on his outside shoulder, and Kyle Hamilton, the all-pro safety, was lined up on his inside shoulder. And for whatever reason, Deion Walker made a mistake, and he blocked towards Nate Higgins, and it allowed Kyle Hamilton to kind of dart in between him, uncontested, towards the kick. Now, for Bill's sake, thank God for Bill's sake anyway, Hamilton kind of like ever so briefly hopped. And he was a little more straight up. And then it kind of took him like that extra just split second to get to the kicker and get his hands up near the ball. And when I tell you, he might have even grazed that ball. And if he didn't graze it, I'm telling you, it was 2 inches at the most away from his fingers. And it would have been because Deion Walker, the number one rule, especially with special teams blocking, you always block inside. It's a much farther path coming from the outside than it is from the inside. And Deion Walker made a bad mistake. And you could even tell because Prater makes the kick, the Bills win, the crowd euphoria, everyone's going nuts, and Deion Walker kind of just like is walking away. He's probably thinking in his mind, oh my God, thank you, Jesus, because I could have just cost my team in my first NFL game ever. I could have cost my team a football game. So that would have been, in a franchise that's had a lot of great wins, but also a lot of very ugly losses, that could have been potentially the ugliest way for the Bills to lose maybe ever. So that was just really ugly. And then the other thing, I kind of already talked about, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but these Bills edge rushers, the read option, you would think by now they know how to stay at home. Like, stay at home. I'm not a coach, but if I was, I'd be in that film room or the locker room, the training, the film every week, the team meetings, the positional meetings. I'd be like, here's 3 words. Stay at home. Yeah. AJ Epinesa, early in the first quarter, gets caught inside. Joey Bosa, we talked about him earlier. He gets caught inside. Greg Rizzo, what happened to him? That's at least 3, by my count watching this film, at least 3 times where edge guys got pinched. Again, you would think that they would learn this by now, but they just don't. And then the last thing on the ugly side, and God, I hate to talk about him in a negative way because I'm a big Ray Davis guy. I like Ray Davis, but some games he's great. Others, it just feels like he doesn't feel like a good fit, and he probably shouldn't have any role in this game. And this was one of them. Touched the ball 3 times, and all 3 times, nothing good happened. 1 carry for 2 yards, 1 reception where he lost a yard, and then a big mistake, which could have been very, very costly. He takes a handoff, so it's 3rd and 1. He takes a handoff, and instead of hitting the inside gap, which was there, and you can see it on film, clear as day for a first down, for whatever reason, he bounces it outside. And because he bounces it outside, not only does he get stopped for no gain, he doesn't get the first down, but more importantly, because he bounces it outside, Deion Dawkins, who's already engaged with his guy, ends up holding. Then it becomes 3rd and long. The Bills don't get it, and they punt, and they're down 15. And when they punted, it felt like a surrender to me, but it was 3rd or 4th and long, and that's because, A, Ray Davis didn't hit the right hole. Actually, there is no B. It's A, because Ray Davis did not hit the gap, which would have got him the first down. I was screaming at my TV at that point. Like, I need to see James Cook or Ty Johnson in the game at that time. And by the way, quick little side ugly note. I love me some Ty Johnson. Great player. One of my favorites on the team. I trust him very, very much, but I think it was a touchdown pass. Dropped a touchdown pass in this football game. But anyway, back to Ray Davis. Ray Davis is the 3rd back, okay? Put him in if it's a blowout. Put him in if there's a package that requires, Cook or Cook or Johnson if they need a rest. Put him in at that point. But when you're trailing in the second half, I don't need to see Ray Davis in there, man. That's just, he's a popular player. I get it. And I like him too. I promise you. I really do. I know he can kick the ball. It's a great story. All that stuff, man. But, yeah, no. I want James Cook in there as much as possible. Or Ty Johnson, not Ray Davis. Ray Davis is the 3rd running back, and I don't need to use 3 running backs, at least in some games. So there's that. All right, conclusion. I want to keep this in perspective here. When it comes to things most critical about, let's remember that they're playing the Ravens, okay? And the Ravens will make a lot of defenses and offenses look weak. So, I'm not going to go too crazy. Well, maybe I am. At least I'm trying not to go too crazy about what I saw from DaQuan Jones or what I saw from Terrell Bernard or what I saw from the safety position because of who they were playing. They were playing Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and Zay Flowers, and Mark Andrews, and a very, very talented Baltimore Ravens offense. Now, if I start to see some of the same patterns, some of the same trends, and they're playing the Jets and the Patriots or the Falcons or teams like that, man, the alarm's going to get, a lot louder. So there's that. And at the end of the day, truly the only thing that really matters is the W. That's it. The end. The Bills got a great chance right now to start this season 5-0 before they travel to Atlanta in week 6. And I don't want to look ahead to, too far past the Jets. Not taking them lightly. They played Pittsburgh toe for toe last week. They look very competitive right now. But if you get past the Jets on the road, and you got Miami, the Saints, and Patriots all at home, how can you not stare 5-0 right in the face? The Bills have an opportunity, at least an opportunity, playing those 3 AFC East teams who all lost week 1. The Bills could put an end to any AFC East race before it even starts. And again, come January, because of this game, they might end up in Orchard Park if there's a rematch. And this was a really good start, man. Like I said, the one thing the Bills have never done during this playoff run in the Josh Allen or the McBean era is they've never been the number 1 seed. And, man, you want to do that, the best way you could do it is to go out and beat one of the number 1 seed contenders, the Baltimore Ravens. And they did that, and that was huge. So anyway, all right, that's going to do it for today. Matt Warren from SB Nation is going to join me tomorrow. We're going to do, like I said, a report card. We'll do it positionally from his point of view. We'll start, and we'll talk about some of these issues that we talked about today as well. We'll start to take a look at the Jets. Should be a nice competitive game on Sunday. We'll take a look at the Jets, what they did right and wrong against Pittsburgh this past weekend. We'll talk about some stuff going around the NFL and plenty more as well. So again, big thank you to everybody for watching, for listening. Appreciate you guys very much. Matt Warren joins me on the show tomorrow.